3. Hello everyone. Today we are going to continue with our lectures on company law. We have so far covered annual return, annual general meeting, and extraordinary general meeting. From today onwards, we will start with the requisites of the general meeting. The first requisite to ensure that we properly call a general meeting would be notice. Notice is an extremely important requisite or essential for a meeting. Every person who is entitled to attend the meeting shall be receiving or shall be served a notice. If the notice is not served as per the provisions of the Companies Act, then the whole meeting and the business which has been conducted in the meeting will be void or will be invalid. Hence, today we are going to continue our company law lectures with this very important topic of notice. So, what are the topics that we are going to do today is length of notice, that is a period of notice, mode of sending notice, who is entitled to receive the notice of AGM, meetings, in case a meeting has to be held with a shorter notice than what has been provided, then what would be the procedure for the same? And finally, if there is an omission to send notice, then what is the repercussions or how it will be dealt as such. So, without wasting any time, let us move into the first topic, that is length of notice. Now, section 101 clearly states that in order to properly call a meeting, that is a general meeting, notice shall be sent of at least 21 clear days before the meeting. It says 21 clear days and not working days. So be careful over here and remember it is clear days. Now the question which would have come into your mind would be, what is clear days? So I would explain it to you by this chart that has been provided in this slide. So notice shall be sent at least 21 clear days. This point is very clear to us. Now, to calculate 21 clear days, we will have to exclude the following days so that we arrive at 21 clear days. Which are these dates that we'll have to exclude? Number one, we'll have to exclude the date on which the notice is served. Date on which the notice is served. And we'll have to exclude the date of the meeting. When we exclude these two dates, then we would arrive at clear days, and such clear days shall be at least 21 clear days. So in case a notice is served, say on 21st of May, and the meeting is on, say on 15th of May, 15th of June, sorry. So for the calculation of 21 clear days, we would exclude 21st of May and we would exclude 15th of June. And this gap between these 2 days shall be 21 clear days minimum. Minimum. This may be higher also. Higher is allowed. I mean 25 clear days, 30 clear days. It is well and good to give more notice. But giving shorter notice is not allowed. And notice of less than 21 days will not be allowed. Okay, this point is clear. So if a company wants to reduce the prescribed required period by its articles, by inserting a clause in its articles, for example saying that a notice of the general meeting shall be at least 15 clear days, then such a clause will be void, as it contradicts or contravenes the provision of 21 clear days provided in the Companies Act. In such case, the Companies Act will prevail and the articles will be ignored. Okay, I hope this part of length of notice is clear to all of you. Now, what is the mode of sending the notice? Mode of sending notice. This is a very important point once again. Notice may be sent in writing or in electronic mode or other prescribed mode. Let me show this also through a chart to all of you. The notice shall be sent in writing, electronic mode, or other mode prescribed. This is also covered under section 101. But over here, in case the company is sending this notice through electronic mode, then Rule 18 also has to be complied with. Rule 18 of which rules? Rule 18 of companies management and administration rules 2014. 2014. So rule 18 will be applicable if the notice is sent through email, that is electronic mode. Now in an email, rule 18 says that notice can be sent as a text. It can be sent as a text, that is on the body of the mail. Or it may be sent as an attachment to the email. Attachment means there may be a PDF of the notice which is attached to the email. Or there may be a link which is given as a notification for the link. Or the company may provide in the email an uniform resource locator, that is URL. URL means the address of the website where the notice will be stored. Normally URL we all know is https:// and the website address wherever the at the location where the notice would be saved. Okay, this part is clear. Now also, if the email is sent, then it shall be addressed to persons entitled to receive the notice as per the records of the depository. As per the records of the depository. So all the beneficial owners would be owning the security through the depository, and they would be giving all the details to the depository. Company will have to take the records from the depository and email on the addresses which have been provided at the records of the deposit. This is said by rule 18. Okay, I hope this part is clear. Now one more important point is that the notice shall be placed at the website of the company. If the company has the website, then the notice shall be placed on the website of the company and on the website as notified by central government. If central government has notified any special website, any other website other than the website of the company, then on that also the notice shall be placed by the company. Now, the next topic is within the same mode of sending notice, an example which has been provided in ICAI module. This says that Mr. Abir filed a complaint against the company Elixir Private Limited since it did not serve the notice to him for attending the annual general meeting. The company in turn provided the proof that they had sent the notice by way of email, inviting him to attend the annual general meeting. Abir alleges that he never received the email. So whether the company is guilty for contravening provisions of section 101, read with the rules. Now what does this example say is that first thing you have to remember, the notice has to be sent to all the persons who are entitled to attend the meeting. If the notice is not sent to even one member who was entitled, then in that case the member can file a complaint and ensure that the meeting is nullified or void and all the business which has been transacted is also invalid. And the company has to ensure that notice is sent to everybody. So the company's responsibility is sending the notice. Company's responsibility is sending the notice. But if there is an email which is sent and after sending the notice, whether there is a failure of transmission or whether there is a server issue or whether there is a network issue or whether the email account of the member or the person has changed, that is not an obligation of the company. Company is not responsible for that. So if the company has fulfilled its obligation of sending the email, the notice through the email to the person entitled, the company's work is completed and company cannot be held liable. So that is what is given in this particular answer also. It will be the Responsibility of the member to ensure that his email is up to date or updated in the depository records. Okay, so this example is clear to you. Now, who is entitled to receive the notice? Who is entitled to receive the notice? So notice shall be given to every person listed in this particular slide as per section 101. So notice of every general meeting shall be served to first every member of the company, every member of the company. Each and every shareholder is entitled, it is his right of the member to attend the general meeting, and it is his right to receive the notice for the annual general meeting. Point number one, if the member has died, that is, he is a deceased member, then to the legal representative of the deceased member. If he is an insolvent member, then to the assignee of the insolvent member. So first point is clear. Now the members may raise n number of questions with regards to audit qualifications or audit findings or the performance of the company or the forecast of the company or the current financial position of the company. Hence, the notice has also to be given to the auditor or auditors of the company and the director of the company who need to be present at the meeting to answer the members. Okay, so the notice has to be given to every member. If member has died, then LR. If member is insolvent, then assignee. Okay, as well as to the auditor and auditors, as well as to the directors of the company. So this is clear to you. Next, meeting, if there is a circumstances due to which the meeting has been held at a shorter notice, 21 clear days is the normal notice that has to be given, but there are some circumstances due to which you have to give shorter notice. In that case, what is the procedure? The procedure is that you will have to get a consent in writing, consent that they do not have any objection, in writing or by electronic mode, that is an email. From whom is what we are going to learn in this particular chart. Now, in case if the company is holding an annual general meeting, in case if the company is holding an annual general meeting, in that case, the consent has to be taken by not less than 95% of such members who are entitled to vote. If it is an annual general meeting, straightforward provision, 95%, minimum 95% members have to give consent in writing or electronic mode, who are entitled to vote, by the way. Okay, so annual general meeting is very clear. Second point is any other general meeting, which will be basically EGM. So AGMs are normally held for urgent matters. So it is possible sometimes that you will not be able to give full notice. In that case, if the company is a company having share capital, then majority in number plus such members shall hold not less than 95% of paid up share capital. So the consent will have to be received from majority of numbers. Majority means more than 50%. And such majority shall be holding 95% of paid up share capital. So there are two elements to this particular clause. That is, first, majority in number also is required, and not less than 95% of paid up share capital also is required. For AGM, it was very clear. It may be possible that majority is not having 95%. Still, it will be valid consent that has been received if it is not less than 95%. But in case of any other general meeting, and if the company is a company having share capital, in that case, majority in number as well as not less than 95% of paid up share capital has to be required for giving the consent in writing or electronic mode. Now, if the company is not having share capital, no share capital, then it is very simple, like EGM itself, not less than 95%. But over here, 95% of members nahi, balki 95% of total voting power. 95% of total voting power at that meeting. Okay, so if it is AGM, not less than 95% of members entitled to vote. If it is any other general meeting, first share capital, if the company has share capital, majority in number plus 95% of paid up share capital. Second, if the company does not have share capital, then not less than 95% of total voting power at that meeting. I hope this particular part is also clear to you. This is important from case study point of view again. Okay, write it down that it is important from case study point of view. Only this particular chart, if you have understood this chart, then it is very easy, nothing to worry. Next, there are some other provisions which are also there, which are also important. Section 101 subsection 2, which speaks about contents of notice. Now, a valid notice must state the day, date, hour of meeting, day, date, and hour of meeting, and the place of meeting, and shall contain a statement of business to be transacted. That is like agenda. What is the business which will be transacted in the meeting? Okay, and it shall be issued under the authority of board of directors under the name of authorized official. Normally, it is under the name of company secretary. Okay, so contents of notice is very clear. Only the day, date, hour, and place is required. Now, section 101 subsection 4 says omission to send notice. See, I had explained it to you in the initial slide itself that if the company does not send notice to even one member, then the whole meeting can be nullified and called void. Similarly, the business transacted will also be void. Hence, the company shall ensure that it does not do any deliberate omission. If there is an accidental omission that is beyond the control of the company, then in that case, or in case of non-receipt of notice by any member, in that case, it shall not invalidate the proceedings of the meeting. But to prove that it was accidental omission, that onus of proof will be on the company. The onus of proof is on the company to prove that it was not deliberate and it was accidental omission. Okay, I hope this point is also clear. This is also a very important point from case study point of view. Okay, now last point is applicability to private companies. See, normally section 101 shall apply, but in case of any respective sections or any articles of association of the private company, if they provide any provision which is otherwise, that is an provision which is other than the provisions which is given under section 101, then in that case there will be exemption or exception to such private companies. So section 101 will not apply if the articles of association of the company has provided something else. This is only applicable to private company. Also do remember, the private company shall not have committed any default under section 137 and section 92 in filing its financial statement as well as its annual return with the ROC. Okay, so I hope all these provisions are clear to you with respect to section 101. This brings us to the end of this particular session. So if you have liked this video, if you have understood what I have tried to teach in this particular video, then please don't forget to press the like button. That keeps me motivated to bring more videos to you. As well as those people who have not subscribed till now, please do subscribe to the channel, as I'm going to bring out many more provisions and lectures for company law in an exhaustive manner. So that will help for your July exam as well as for your November exam. Okay, so that's it from me. Thank you.